Welcome to another episode of Off the Menu. I'm Vincent Franchini from Tumblr House, here with a very Amazonian Charles Coulombe.
Well, well, yes, of course. Of course I'm Amazonian. I am as Amazonian as any elderly white European man can be. That's right. And right now we got a whole bunch of my brethren, my fellow tribesmen in Rome, in a big powwow. They're passing the peace pipe. They're dancing the humba jumba as I was just doing. They're sacrificing cows to Pachamama. Oh, I'll tell you what, it's just great stuff. Why are you giving me that look?
Amazonians have a peace pipe?
Well, these do. I think that my fellow tribesmen are smoking the pot pipe or something. Bongs, I don't know. Anyway, they seem to be pretty into it at the moment.
That's for sure.
They're really rocking out, See, when you get a lot of elderly men together, who like kind of past it, sort of, past their best by date, and they were people who had a vision, who wanted to run away and do Last of the Mohicans when they were kids, and now they're all grown up and they can do it at other people's expense. It's great. It's really LARPing on a wide scale.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I understand exactly how they all feel. I loved Bomb of the Jungle Boy when I was a kid. I thought that was just the greatest thing. Raised by South American Indians and being out there with the jaguar in the jungle. Oh, gosh, yes. Yeah.
That's like Mowgli or something.
Well, that's India, but yeah, pretty much the same idea. And remember, none of these guys really know anything about what they're talking about anyway when it comes to Native Americans or the Amazon, or it could be India, could be anywhere, could be, I don't know, Nepal. I think if you told half of those folks that the Sherpas come from the Amazon, they wouldn't know any different. All we know is that the Sherpas in the Amazon need us to have married priests. Gay married priests.
Oh, man.
Listen, how are the Sherpas going to lead people down across the Amazon without that? Yeah, you can't answer that one, can you, smart guy? I didn't think so. Yeah.
It has been hard to watch, I tell you. And I can see from social media, everyone has this sort of sense of dread in the same way. I think we're all kind of collectively... Yeah, I mean, we're all kind of... If I could characterize how everyone's like looking at the Amazon thing in a single gesture, it would be like this. Oh, we got an image here. Oh, no. Okay, is it okay to look yet? Is it okay to look? Oh, no. It's like a scary movie, right? That's what you do during a scary movie. That means then it won't be as bad because you're like covering it up, like watching The Exorcist.
I had a priest friend of mine who was watching the film, and he was going on about how wonderful it was seeing the priestess with the snakes. And that, listen, just seeing a bunch of old men live their fantasies with exotic native priestesses, weird rites of jungle love, that was a thing. You guys don't understand. They had magazines back then like Blue Book and Argosy and all that. And these guys grew up on that stuff. To adventure tales and all that. They're living their childhoods, being in their second childhoods, as you might say.
Yeah.
And best of all, they're able to do it at church expense on church property. That's real LARPing. I mean, imagine if the Society for Creative Anachronism could get a hold of a real cathedral. Think of the fun they'd have.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, they're reenactors for, something real, the Middle Ages, but never mind. They're just living the dream. They're being true to their childhoods. I mean, if you had the chance, well, look, you've been to Disneyland. Yeah. You know the Enchanted Tiki Room.
Yeah, I love the Tiki Room with the birds.
Yeah, I do too. I love the Enchanted Tiki Room myself. The Jungle Cruise. You like the Jungle Cruise?
I like the Jungle Cruise, yeah.
I love the Jungle Cruise, and they had another one like that at the late lamented Busch Gardens in the San Fernando Valley. They had a Jungle Cruise.
Okay.
And so these guys are just doing the whole tropical thing. But again, because they don't know that much, they kind of mix and match it. They do things that you would never see in the real world. But this is all imagination. It's putting, well, like Disney did, it's taking his imagination and making it real. Now, it doesn't really correspond to anything on planet Earth. It's all interior directed. But fortunately, because they're in charge and they got the dough, they can do whatever they want. See? What's not to like?
Oh, I guess before we move on with the rest of the show, I feel compelled to ask you for any predictions coming out of this synod. Is there any chance that we can make it through this okay, or is...
I don't know how you define okay.
Not being closer to schism.
I don't even know what that means in this context. I mean, I really don't.
Okay, well, so what is the purpose of the synod? Are they going? They're going to produce a document, right?
They're going to produce a document, but what's really going to happen? I don't know. I don't know what's going to be in the document. My guess is that they're simply going to introduce all kinds of weird options, and a lot of people in certain churches, I don't want to mention the church in Germany, but certain churches will take advantage of them to do stupid things because they're like stupid. And the Holy Father will doubtless gaze on benevolently and wonder why his money is shrinking.
Well, they're just following the footsteps of the celebrated Martin Luther, what clergymen have called the mystic of grace, right?
I remember that big chocolate statue they had of him to celebrate the anniversary.
Yeah.
And I couldn't tell whether the Pope was being funny or serious. I mean, when you have a statue of somebody in chocolate, are you really honoring them or are you mocking them? I don't know. What I do know is that if you're going to honor Martin Luther, the obvious way to honor him would be to treat the Pope of the time, whoever that Pope may be, the way he treated the Pope of his time. And that would seem like an open invitation to do so. Holy Father said he's not afraid of schism. Well, that could mean anything. Obviously, he doesn't believe in the necessity of the church for salvation, or that would be a fearful prospect because he would think about souls going to hell. But if basically you don't need him or his kind to save your soul, then none of it means anything anyway. And they might as well just enjoy the revenues and have a good time.
Well, I think on that line, I just think he didn't speak very well on that line. I imagine what he meant, my own personal interpretation of what he meant there was like in a game of chicken, where other people are expecting certain things from the Pope, otherwise they're going to schism. He's saying, I'm not going to back down.
Well, that's one way to look at it. I don't know. But how do you back down when your position is Jell-O?
What?
How do you back down when your position is Jell-O? What does he stand for? Nobody knows, really.
His position is Jell-O?
Yeah, his position is Jell-O.
What does that mean?
It means as much as anything else he says.
Okay.
Who knows? Who am I to judge? It's all this Neo-Pelagian demanding of definitions that's ruining the church today. This idea that words have to mean something. That is the problem. The greatest threat facing the church today is people attaching specific meanings to particular words.
Isn't it fun to say villainous things like that? It's very cathartic, isn't it?
Well, it is, and it's meaningless. What did I just say? I don't know. But, if you try to attach meaning to what I said, you're obviously a bad person.
No, if you worry about anything about the church and express open concern, then you're de facto hostile. That's the lesson from George Neumayer in that video. If you're worried about anything, you are de facto hostile.
I'm not concerned in the slightest. I have no concern for the Holy Father at all. He will take care of himself, I'm sure. I don't worry about his starving.
Us starving? Is that what you said?
I'm not worried about him starving.
I'm not worried about him starving either, so I guess that makes two of
See?
us.
Yeah, he's going to get his 3 squares no matter what he does, so he's fine.
All right, great.
How many of us can say that? Even high atop the Tumbler House Tower, you yourself would be ejected in a sort of family corporate coup if you didn't produce something or other. It's wonderful to be in a job where you just have to breathe, and you're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. We'd all love such a position. You can just do whatever you want, say what you like. Doesn't matter what anyone thinks, because you're going to get your 3 squares a day. You're going to be taken care of. Everything's fine. So I'm not worried about the Holy Father in the slightest. He's okay.
Well, that's good, Charles.
Or, as they used to say in post-war Britain, I'm all right, Jack. Well, he's fine.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Brian's second question. I feel myself inclined to accelerationism with the upcoming Amazon Synod. I find myself, like Francis, not fearing schism. Of course, as one cartoon I saw depicts it, it would be Francis and company going out on a limb and cutting themselves off from the living tree of the church. How much longer can Holy Mother Church contain within her bosom the likes of traditionalists, conservatives, and nominally Catholic liberals?
Well, you'd be surprised how durable the church is and how long she's kept all sorts of wackos in her bosom. As a bishop said to Napoleon when he vowed to smash the church, he said, "We've had 1,800 years and us bishops haven't been able to do it. I doubt you're going to manage it." And that's only half in jest. I don't know what's going to happen. I really have no idea. I can think of all nightmare scenarios as much as anyone else can, but there's no point losing any sleep over it. It will be as it will be. I mean, Saul was struck by lightning and fell off the horse in Damascus. Maybe one day Pope Francis will look at footage of the Synod and start laughing and wonder how he could sponsor something so absurd. Who knows? I don't. That's why we have to pray for him. The Pope is our father, and that sounds great, but stop and think about all the many kinds of fathers there are. What if your father's a drunk? What if he's a wife beater? What if he's an abuser in more than one way? You still owe him a certain filial piety because he's your father, but how do you deal with him? Well, that varies from case to case. And historically, sometimes the church, I'm not saying this is the case now, but sometimes the church has had popes who are downright evil. So, I don't know. I'm looking forward, and this would be the case if I thought it was the greatest thing since plaid paint. I'm looking forward to Pope Francis's successor, because that'll be the end of the prophecies of St. Malachi, according to which Francis will be the last pope, ushering in the end of the world. But maybe St. Malachi wasn't wrong. Maybe all the years that I've thought he was wrong and laughed at the prophecies, maybe I was wrong. Could be. I don't know. I hope not. There's still a lot of world I'd like to see.
Okay.
But who can say? I can't. What I can tell you is that until each of us draws his last breath, we still have the things we have to do ourselves. We still have to receive the sacraments. We still have to perform our devotions, the Rosary, the Sacred Heart, all that. We still have to perform the temporal and spiritual works of mercy. We still have to try to evangelize the milieu that we find ourselves in, be it family, friends, work, or whatever. All the stuff that pertains to us as individuals remain the same no matter who the Pope may be. And if we can't see any sort of connection with whoever's at the top at the moment, if the Pope of the day is John the 12th or Benedict IX or Honorius or whatever you like, then it still falls on us to do what we have to do to ensure that our end of the world is good, whether or not the end of the world occurs in our own time. Because if you're ready to meet your own death, ladies and gentlemen, if I'm ready to meet my death, then we will be ready to meet the world's death. That's the thing. And we can never lose sight of that. You see, the devil wants us to. The devil wants us to despair. He wants us to hate. Now, our so-called opponents, he's got special lures for them too. They're not the lures for us. We have special lures that wouldn't bother them at all. They have theirs. We have ours. In both cases, the devil doesn't really care about the lures themselves. For him, they're strictly means to an end. He would be just as happy with a completely orthodox, strict, Jansenist, nasty taskmaster driving decently minded people out of the church, as he would be with this lot driving people like us out of the church. He doesn't care. It's all much of a muchness to him, as long as souls are ruined. That's all he cares about. Any way it takes, he doesn't care. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. There's an old saying that he gets liberals for sins of chastity and conservatives for sins of charity. You know, sins against chastity, sins against charity. But there's a certain amount of truth, perhaps, to that. Not that conservatives cannot be unchaste, and that liberals cannot be uncharitable. Quite the contrary. But good, close enough for government work.